Rahim. For the grammar lesson, we'll keep it short and easy, inshallah, the week after the exam week. This is what we've covered so far, just as a reminder. So the exam covered pronouns, prepositions. So for this pronoun preposition, basically you have to memorize the table. Hum, huwa, hiya, ha, ka, kum, ki, ana. So all those you should memorize. Prepositions, min, fawqa, ba'da, tahta, ala, ila, fi. And then you have to know a couple of rules for each one. For example, pronouns, when they're attached, detached, what do they signify? Preposition, the word after the preposition usually takes a kasra. If it's a pronoun, only third person pronouns take a kasra. Okay? So those are the simple rules. Everything, this root letters, you just find the three most important letters. It's an art, like I said, it's not a science. Even we discussed, like for example, ma. I didn't know what the root letters from ma were. In fact, I looked it up. Ma, waw, hamza. Not even hamza, they say ma, waw, ha. I looked. So, I mean, and people argue about it too. Insan, what is the root word? Salah, what is the root word? Is it salawa, salaya? So people, it's not an exact science, but if you can get a grasp on the root letter, it will open up the whole language for you. So, word type. Three types of words: ism, harf, and fi'l. Again, maybe a lot of you thought, why do we have to do this? When I first taught ism, harf, and fi'l, why do we have to do this? We can just learn the meaning of the word. But now that you know ism, harf, and fi'l, we saw so many rules applying to each one of them separately. For example, preposition can be attached to ism, harf, and fi'l. If it's attached to ism, means something different, harf something different, fi'l something different. So you don't have to memorize for every time it's attached to a verb. Okay, this time it's object, receiving action of the verb. So it's something that's helpful. And then the last thing we did, definite versus indefinite nouns. So the most common way to make a noun definite is alif lam. There's also possession. If it's possessive, it's definite. If it's after ya, it's definite. We had a whole list of 6 things that make a noun definite. You just have to know that list. Compound is more of a possession thing, more of a possession. So there's not really compound words, but it's possession. Okay? So just review. Any of these that you feel uncomfortable with, feel free to ask me a question about or review the lecture on. I like the grammar videos better because they're short and nice. The vocabulary ones barely even load on a computer because they're like 40 minutes long. But so the grammar ones should be easier to know. Today we're going to discuss a very simple topic. It's sifa and mawsuf, which is description phrase. Okay? So usually the description phrase is one word a lot of times, and we're only going to discuss that right now. One word description. So you say house. House, you want to describe it, so you say big house. That's it. That's all we're going to discuss. House versus big house. So in English, the description comes before. If it's a one-word description, it comes before the noun. Where did big come? Big comes before house or after house? Do I say the house big? I live in the house big. No, I live in a big house. Okay?
I live in house big.
But in Arabic, you say I live in a house big. You put the big after the house. Okay? So that's the first rule. Sifa comes after the mawsuf if it's a single word sifa. So again, to clarify, this is single word sifa. And the word sifa usually means single word. But you can have a descriptive phrase. And we're not going to discuss descriptive phrase right now. Okay? So single word that describes. That's a sifa. Okay? The important thing to remember though, that sometimes in English is not emphasized, sifa must agree in gender, number, i'rab, definiteness, and all those things that we talked about. A noun can be categorized by its gender, by its number, by its definiteness, indefiniteness. Okay, a verb can be classified by etc., etc. But sifa only describes nouns. Sifa will come after a noun, so it has to agree in definiteness, gender, number, and i'rab with the ism. Both are ism. A sifa is technically also an ism, but it's a describing ism. So the ism that it's describing has to agree with it. Okay, that's it. That's all the rules. You just have to know what are some? It's important to know some describing words. Azabun azim, like I heard somebody say. Azim is describing. Alim, kabir, alim, qadir. All these, a lot of them have the root letters like this with the ya in the middle. Okay, kabara, for example, to be big. Kabura is to be big. Kabir, big. Saghir, alim, azim, qadir, jadid. All of these follow the same, but they're not the only sifat, but they're a huge class. So I'd like you to remember that also. Okay, so it's just how do you can use a root. If you think something can be used as a sifat, try looking at the root and putting a ya in there. You might, a lot of times you are successful. Ghani even also follow this. Faqir. I mean, there's so many different ones that follow this letter. Ghani is tricky because there's ghana, ya, and then ghani, so you have to kind of be careful about that. But
isn't Ghani the last name of a Muslim senator run for state senator?
yeah, as the sign outside says. True.
Now you remember, right? The word forget.
So what does ghani mean?
Rich.
Oh,
Servant of something.
Rich.
huh?
Ghani is rich.
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 Yeah.
Abdul Ghani. Servant of the rich.
Okay, sorry. The thing got. Okay, so that's all I want you to remember. So now we'll do some examples, inshallah. What's this thing? Okay, some examples. Let us do it first verbally before I write anything down. So we are in lesson 11 in the book, just in case you were wondering. So Ajrun Azim, for example. Ajrun Azim, we discussed Azim. Al-Maw'izatul Hasana, good advice. Okay, what I want you to see in this what I want you to see in this case is that they're agreeing in gender. Ajrun, Azim, both are masculine. Ajr is masculine, Azim is masculine. Let me ask you a question. Can Ajr ever be feminine? Is there a feminine form of Ajr? Reward. Ajr means reward. Is there a feminine form of Ajr? No. Okay, it's just Ajr. If you want to say reward, you have to say Ajr. Is there a feminine form of Azim? Yes, there is. Azima. Every sifa has a feminine form. Okay? Everything that's describing has a feminine form. Why is that important? Why is it important? Because sometimes you have to describe a feminine thing. And you have to make it agree with the feminine thing.
Mawsuf can be feminine.
Yes,
So
exactly. So if the mawsuf can be feminine, then your sifa also has to be feminine. So if you have azim, for example, it's masculine, so you keep this masculine. If you have maw'iza, so maw'iza means advice. We had this root word before, I think, wa'adha. Waz, we talked about the waz, right? Maw'iza is like a warning or admonition or advice. So maw'iza, if you can use azim with maw'iza, but you have to say azima, because it has to match, okay? Now also matching singular and plural. Quran and Arabi. I'm just copying examples from the book. Quran, Arabi. Arabic, Quran. But you have to say ayat bayyinat. Okay, ayatin bayyinat, it comes in the Quran. So here you're matching not only the ta, plural, alif ta feminine, but also the number. Bayyin means clear. Bayyin. So you can say Quran bayyin also. Quran bayyin. Okay? Which means clear Quran. You can say bayyinah also. لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب ولا المشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينات. But in that case, it's used not as a sifa. But you can have it as a sifa too, bayina. You can have bayinun, bayinin, and bayinat also. All of those possible. So you can have masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, feminine plural. So almost all sifa have different forms of each. Okay? Whereas the thing they're describing, there's no feminine form of Quran, there's no masculine form of ayah. It's just how it is. One of the most tricky parts, these are next two ones are more tricky. The definiteness has to match. Okay? Al-Masjid, Al-Masjid, Al-Haram, the sacred, the sacred masjid. Okay? You can't say Al-Masjid Haram. That's not sifa also.
It has to match with al and al.
Al and al. Okay? However, more tricky than this, when you have something definite without the al as your ism that you're trying to describe. For example, masjidu, masjid, let's do it with a pronoun. Or masjidullah, okay, here's the good one. Masjid, annal masajidullah, all masjids are for Allah, right? So we'll say masjidullahi, masjidullahi al-haram. So if you're trying to say again, Masjid al-Haram in Makkah, but you're trying to say it's Allah's masjid. So Masjidul Haram, Masjidullahi al-Haram, you have to say. There's no alif lam here. There's no alif lam on masjid. And you're describing masjid. Masjid Allahi, this is for possession, we'll discuss this soon. Al-Haramu. Okay? Here, you put the alif lam here, then you complain, you're not matching. I am matching.
So that's definite.
Because masjid is definite because of possession.
Yeah. Allah.
Because Allah possesses that. Right? So it's definite and I have to put alif lam. So that's the important thing, okay? This also does the last rule also. We said matching in gender, number, definiteness. Also, this. So masjidul. Sorry, there's a spider here. So the last thing that we have to match is i'rab. Okay, this is also tricky for a reason.
Here. Coming down. No,
It's still
coming down.
Yeah, it's still coming down the spider. Okay, so this is also tricky for a reason. Because some ism, okay, are you guys paying attention? No. Some ism, their i'rab is different from the one that they show.
Okay, it's done.
Under the carpet.
Under the carpet, good, okay. Some ism, can you guys focus 1 second. Last thing that I have to say, some ism have a different i'rab in their actuality than the one that they are showing. For example, let's see, I'm trying to think of a good example of a let's see. Okay, so Allahu anzala means to reveal, right? Ayat ayatin sorry, that's a bad example. Let me see. Let me think. Can't pencil. 1 second. Okay, this is a very slightly complicated example, but just focus on the actual point. Okay, min mafatiha, from keys. Okay, so mafatih are keys. Now there's several points of contention that I want to bring forth about this. This word cannot take a kasra. So it will only take a fatha, even after a preposition. Because after a preposition you have to take a kasra. So its actual i'rab is kasra, but it's not showing that. It's showing a fatha. What would you put on an adjective? Sifa after mafatih.
Again, the kasra.
You would put a kasra, unless it is also a word for some reason that doesn't take a kasra. But you would put a kasra, and not only that, you would put it feminine. Feminine, singular, with a kasra.
So min mafatiha samawati. That's what samawati
Yeah.
is.
Well, no, that mafat. Is that an example?
Mafatiha min.
No, I just put min mafatih. For example, min mafatiha kabiratin.
Okay.
Kabiratin. This is how you would do it, okay? So from big keys. It cannot have a alif lam. No alif lam. Mafatih is not definite. Mafatih is not definite. Kabir, so min mafatiha kabiratin. Give me a key from big keys. I don't know, that doesn't really make sense, but it illustrates the point. This doesn't look even feminine, but it is feminine because it's a broken plural. It doesn't look like it has a kasra, but it does have a kasra, so your adjective has to have a kasra. And also it illustrates the point, don't put alif lam on everything. You have to match the difference. Okay? So that's a good final example that I want to give. Just be aware of the grammatical context. Some words are tricky in that you don't see the definiteness, like masjid here. Sometimes you don't see the actual i'rab, but always keep in mind, it's min. That's the actual i'rab. It's actually what we call majroor. So that's the actual i'rab. So when you use a thing, adjective with it, you have to keep it with the actual i'rab, not the one that looks like, not the one that it looks like. Okay? So that's it for inshallah the grammar lesson. I promise it will be short. So subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.